realize the power you have. I'm not saying this as cliche. My colleagues are not saying, oh, I'm not taking AIPAC money or supporting our resolution on genocide. It was because people in their community is asking them those questions. People say, oh, I don't know about this. I say, well, poll your district. The majority of them are going to come back and say, yeah, we should probably stop funding genocide. We need an arms embargo. And yeah, by the way, ICE sucks. Abolish them.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time zone you're living in, it's time for Sumud. All about humanity, so this right here for everyone. Uplift, amplify, empower everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time zone you're living in, it's time for Sumud.
Visit sumudpod.com to subscribe and connect with us on social media. You can also support our work by contributing monthly on the Support Us page. Even $10 a month helps us continue amplifying Palestinian voices and those in solidarity. Thank you.
On this episode of the Sumud Podcast, we uplift, empower, and amplify Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib. Welcome, Congresswoman.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So I want to give you your flowers first, if that's okay. Okay? You are the first Palestinian American woman ever elected to Congress and one of the first 2 Muslim women in U.S. history to serve. When you wore a Palestinian thobe at your swearing in, you didn't just take an oath. You made every Palestinian feel seen. You're not only your grandmother's dream, you are the living hope of every Palestinian elder who believed our voices would one day be heard. I just want to tell you how cool of a moment this interview is and how much it means to us. We have a Palestinian congresswoman, we have a Palestinian podcast, and we are on a Palestinian network, Watermelon Plus, obviously with Watermelon Pictures. Mm-hmm. How badass is that?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And doing incredible work. It's not just, of course, the podcast, but just telling our story in such a powerful way that I didn't get to see as a child. But now our kids get to see our stories and our real history being told.
But you're the reason a lot of this is happening. You're paving the way.
I think many of you don't realize that you've paved the way. I mean, so much of where I came from, and so I love the fact that people in Detroit and people that elected me didn't care that I was Palestinian. Yeah. They just cared about the things that I worked on and where I stood for. But I think they know it's also because of my lived experience growing up Palestinian in the United States.
So I watch a lot of interviews with you. I've done a lot of research on you. The one thing I noticed is nobody just really asked you, how are you doing? With all the pressure, everybody coming at you, all the stresses that you deal with. I mean, you have everybody essentially in the Palestinian diaspora here in the U.S. right behind you, expecting you to kind of fight for us. Yeah. How are you doing?
I mean, it's a lot. I never thought that I would be serving in the U.S. Congress, watching my colleagues with no hesitation voting for genocide. Many of them questioning even the right of Palestinians to truly live. The fact that the dehumanization of the Palestinian people was always there, but it was more amplified. I thought maybe seeing the bloodshed and seeing the aggression, the war crimes, the indiscriminate bombing, the children freezing to death, the mothers crying with their dead children in their hand, that somehow Congress would open up and say, oh my God, we shouldn't be funding this. And that's not what happened. So imagine just standing there watching it. I mean, you're sitting there and you're voting no, and you're just watching while people are talking and don't realize you just enabled more people to die.
Do you recognize the symbolism when you're standing alone with nobody behind you? That's very symbolic of Palestinians in general, or Palestine.
I'm reminded all the time, though, by my friends and amazing sisterhood of folks in my beautiful, beautiful city of Detroit, that I'm not alone, that there are 750,000 plus people that elected me to speak truth on Palestine, on the issue of corporate greed, on the issue of just extraction in our communities. I may physically on that floor be alone, but there are so many people truly in support of what I'm saying on the floor. I mean, some people are saying this is the first time I've ever heard people talk about Palestinians that way, even those that historically have maybe supported us. But I think there's a difference in saying I'm the granddaughter and the niece and the cousin of people that live in the West Bank, a father that grew up, in Beit Hanina, right outside of Jerusalem, and experienced the oppression, the apartheid, the violence of having the Israeli government treat you less human. So that lived experience that my ancestors and what they've gone through, and being a child watching my family members go through those checkpoints, being targeted at in their own villages during celebrations, was like watching a continuation of like, we couldn't be happy, we couldn't dance, we couldn't sing, we couldn't raise our flag, we couldn't do all these things. When I was there as a child, I watched this all happen, and yeah, I got elected to Congress. I just never thought that these are things I needed to share with my colleagues, that they wouldn't understand that humanity. The shared humanity that people talk about in Congress, when it comes to Palestinians, there's an exception. They stop thinking about shared humanity. All of a sudden, we are disposable. The Palestinian people do not deserve the international human rights protection that many of them fight for others.
Simple question, but why?
You know why, in many ways, people funded and supported the gaslighting, the misleading. I mean, the fact that my Democratic colleagues, some of them believe children were born to kill people of Jewish faith. Like, some of them think they're all guilty. Well, we got to kill them now, because if they get older, they'll just, turn around. I mean, there's this unbelievably painful racist tropes. People talk about racism. That's the biggest racist trope, is that somehow Palestinians are inherently violent.
Yeah.
That, somehow like our existence is threatening a whole faith. And I say to them, what are you talking about? My grandfather talked about on Friday was call of prayer, Saturday was Sabbath, Sunday was church bells. We all coexisted together. So why are we now only talking about one faith having the right to exist, and Palestinians of Christian and Muslim faith do not? It's unbelievable to me that my colleagues are that naive or intentionally that evil, that they wouldn't understand the fact that they're funding, again, this Israeli apartheid regime inflicting this kind of oppression and violence on a whole people. They're ethnically cleansing Palestinians. There's hardly any Christian Palestinians left. Now they're going through the West Bank and through communities, locking them up in their own villages. It's so hard for me, because many of them take these trips and they go down there, but they never talk to a Palestinian, not once. I always ask them, did you end up talking to any Palestinians? They never do.
How do they treat you, generally speaking?
It depends.
Yeah.
I know my existence alone is very threatening to the status quo. I could tell you when the genocide first started, and I would be up there. I think the first time I ever got up to submit the names from the Gaza Ministry of Health, Democrats actually were so threatened by it that, and I say Democrats because those are supposed to be my caucus, the folks that are supposed to be for the people, for human rights, and like we're supposed to be different. But they were introducing amendments to say those numbers are false, that they're not accurate. I mean, trying to even take away the right for Palestinians to be dead.
Yeah.
And so know that I sometimes feel like in certain spaces, I almost feel like this whisper of die. Like, why are you even here? I feel it sometimes in the presence of some of my colleagues who, both Democrats and Republicans, who do not want my existence to even be real for them. I think wearing that Palestinian thobe shook them. I wore the keffiyeh for the first time, and I did not realize. I was like, I'm going to wear my Sitis keffiyeh when I go down there and everything. And then, I kept getting told by one colleague in Florida, you don't understand the history. Well, as a Palestinian, we've heard that argument. You don't understand the history. What are you talking about? My family lived the history. And then they kept just saying that to me, Rashida doesn't understand. I was like, I'm going to do the Nakba resolution. That really stirred some stuff up. She's talking about the creation of a whole country. What are you talking about? It's a historic term. And then they wouldn't even let me have a Nakba, event for the historic anniversary of the Nakba. We wanted survivors who are in their 80s and 90s to be able to give their testimony there on the Hill. And this is the people's house. Like, they have a right to be able to speak out. But even that was a threat, to have people that were children that were uprooted from their homes and their villages that are non-existent now, couldn't even come to the Hill to speak their piece and talk about it. There was not a dry eye in that room. We got displaced, ironically. The Nakba event got displaced not once, not twice, 3 times until we were able to get a Senate room because of Senator Bernie Sanders. But even after that, there was backlash and people really angry that we were able to have it on campus. And there were even people within our movement. It was like, okay, khalas, let's just have it at the church across. I said, no, we're going to have it on campus. We have every right to be here, and we have every right to bring in the survivors, who many members of Congress have never heard them speak, never heard their stories, and that's intentional. So when you ask me that, I just want you to know there's intentionality in them wanting to know, because it's easier. It's not just, what people say to me, well, it's the donations, it's the money coming into their campaigns. It's also the intimidation, the bullying. I mean, it's evil to basically want to wipe out a whole people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ethnic cleansing. That's pretty evil.
So where do you get your courage or the energy? I sort of know this as a Palestinian, but I have to ask, where do you get that?
It's our family members. I mean, when I heard the story of my CD not wanting to leave his home and getting shot so many times, I think 11 times, where little kids used to show us the bullet holes. And he wasn't even telling us so we become activists or something. He was just like, come here. Let me show you. It was a story of many stories he would tell of picking olives next to her Jewish neighbor and that the British people ruined everything. He would always talk about the British people and what they did to our villages even back then. And so, he'd show us and talk about that moment. But when you talk to my mom, who was just a kid, she was like, it was horrifying. She said, I remember begging, that she doesn't like talking about it, but she remembers begging my CD, please, let's just go to Jordan with everybody else, because a bunch of cousins and uncles had gone. And CD just kept saying, no, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving my land. He knew they weren't going to let him come back if he left, and he didn't want to leave his homeland. And so if you ever met my dad's mom, Shama, which I always tell people, Shama is like kind of candle. It's like she was more of a firecracker. Yeah.
That's where you get it from?
Mostly from her. My Siti Mufti, Allah Yarhamha, she was compassionate. She was the tiniest person you've ever seen. And then Siti Shama was, Allah Yarhamha, Hajja Shama was just so like, she walked in the room, you got afraid. Like you didn't even have to talk to the woman. Both of them had never gone to school, educated. There's a joke in the family that when they see me go from 0 to 10 in a committee hearing or anywhere in really trying to protect my community, my district, they're like, oh my God, Siti Shama just came out. But they say I'm Siti Shama, but with education that she never got access to. So, I'm actually proud of that title. I want to be like my Siti, Shama. She walked in the room and she'd always see where the men were and she'd go to that side of the room versus where the women, she's like, that's where the decisions are made. And I was a little girl. I would like hover near her knees, and just like watch her scream at people. And I didn't know like that was kind of crazy, but but I was just like, oh, Siti's strong, She don't need a man. She didn't have a man. She was like, I could take care of myself.
Yeah, Palestinian women run the show. People don't realize that, really.
Yeah.
They really don't realize that.
Yeah, especially Hananiyat. I'll say it, I don't care.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah,
all
when
good.
I got married, the guy was like, oh, who's from Beit Hanina? And they said the bride. They're like, oh, the groom is going to get, she's definitely, it's an automatic thing.
Yeah.
If you're from Beit Hanina, you're a strong woman.
Yeah. So a lot of people view you as this, just abstract being, if you will, Congresswoman, but they don't realize, part of the story you just told with your grandparents, obviously, but also you grew up in Southwest Detroit, a family of 14, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Can you just talk about your early days?
Yeah, I'm the eldest of 14. I grew up in Southwest Detroit. A lot of people don't know where that's at, but like it's where Mexican Town is. Mexican's like a street or so, but it's also one of the first neighborhoods where my Black neighbors were able to own homes right in the shadow of a refinery. But like it's got this historic nature where it's all this hodgepodge, just melting pot of so many different kinds of people. And I don't like even call it melting pot, but like Delray had the huge Hungarian, Polish immigrant community. And, we have a huge Latino community. We had 20 different ethnicities. Growing up, I knew being Palestinian was just a handful of us families from Palestine in Southwest Detroit. There were people from Jordan, Lebanon, Yemen. But, all the Palestinians knew each other. I don't care where you go. Yep. If you go to Central America or whatever, it's like Palestinians find each other and they're like, oh, where are you from? Which village? Growing up there, I feel like it made me a better, honestly, just person to be around so much of that. I mean, I went to a predominantly Black high school, Southwestern High School, all that. But people think like, oh, she must come from an education. No, my dad only went up to 4th grade. He came here at 19 years old. You know, he was the guy in the corner who sell watches. You know, which watch do you want, or the watered down perfume, until he got into Ford Motor Company. Being part of the UAW changed his life forever. And then my mom, only 8th grade education. When I started school, I didn't speak any English. My mom said I could only sing the Love Boat song.
You want to show me real quick?
No. This Love Boat, happy and new, I think it was. And so all that to say is that experience of being a child of Palestinian immigrant parents who didn't have access to a lot of opportunities, and we struggled a lot. Being the eldest, I got the front row seat of seeing that struggle, where some of my siblings, towards like the ones that are younger, the 20-year difference, I always shake my head because they have no idea that we ate powdered eggs from Focus Hope, or that my yama couldn't, you know, she just was so afraid to drive. We didn't get to drive until years later. So we used to have that wire thing to go down to Farmer Jack's grocery store to buy the groceries and walk all the way back in the freezing cold. You know, it was, but I was the translator. I was a social worker. It's automatic when you're the eldest. I still translate for my mom to this day. And, you know, that lived experience, honestly, when any family comes into one of the neighborhood service centers I created in my district, I don't know, my lens is that different of like understanding, oh yeah, you know, no judgment, like, oh, I know it must be hard. Plus, especially when everything costs so much more than it did when my parents were trying to, you know, build a home, you know, get into a home, make it a home. Even buying a brand new car was a big deal for my dad. I just still remember how he felt like, you know, it might not have been a degree from a school, but for him it was like, okay, we're okay now.
Yeah.
We got a brand new van.
Yeah. Small things count.
Yeah. Really create memories. But I always watched the way people looked at my parents, and I hated how some people, like, you know, I'd be behind my mom, like staring back, because my mom hated if I confronted anyone.
So that's why you hate bullying so much.
I hate it so much.
Yeah.
I hate people that be like, don't do that. Excuse me, but I don't work for you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I come from an amazing city. When I got censured, I just felt like, oh my God, like somehow they tarnished this thing. I mean, just, it was still understanding, okay, they were doing this to shut me up, to punish me. And 22 or something Democrats joined them. We would never passed without their support. I came to Detroit, and one of my residents, seniors, she goes, Rashida, what is this censure thing? Because she had never seen this before. And I said, well, Mother, this is, you know, I called her Mother out of respect. Like we call it Hajja or something. So I call all my seniors mothers and our fathers. And I said to her, it was to, you know, basically say what you said shouldn't have been said, and you need a, you know, just kind of like a timeout. I still get to speak on the floor. I told her I get to still be in committee and do my work. She goes, so they're trying to tell you to shut up? I was like, mm-hmm. She goes, she looks and she goes, but no one's allowed to tell you to shut up but us. And I don't know why. It just made me so happy. And, you know, it makes you like, you know, like, yeah, you're right. Even though I knew that,
yeah.
I feel like sometimes my residents don't realize the simplest things they say to me remind me, okay, see, they get it. The folks in Congress live in this bubble and live in this like alternative world that is not connected to the people on the ground who think that some of the actions they take are so incredibly hurtful, disconnected, and don't really change lives for the better. But yeah, my residents continue to remind me over and over again.
Yeah. Did your father battle cancer at one point?
Yeah, he had cancer, and I remember calling and, you know, letting the nurses know he's a charmer. They're like, oh, we noticed. But yeah, it was pretty bad. He was getting treatment and everything, but he died of a heart attack, which the chemo and everything, I know people know if you have a loved one with cancer, sometimes it's not the cancer that kills them, it's the treatment.
Yeah. And
sometimes infections and other things that happen. I just lost a dear friend, not from cancer, but the infection because of the treatment. And so, yeah, my dad died pretty young.
Yeah. My mother died of leukemia. So she had a kidney transplant. And because this is 2001, because of the medication they gave her, she ended up getting leukemia. And
I'm so sorry.
No, I completely get it. I really asked that question because I know my experiences. How did that shape your perspective with healthcare, for example?
I mean, all of it. I mean, I don't think people realize, even watching my mother give birth to my last two siblings, I was there. And, when I look at maternal health and Black maternal health rates and things like that, even just watching sometimes in the medical field, of course, my dad's battling cancer and everything, but I told my siblings even then, I was like, how they're going to treat him in the medical. And I just want people to know, like, sometimes they don't even believe our family members and stuff of people of color that go through our medical. It's not even just the fact that healthcare is out of control and we have sick care in our country. But if you're a person of color, it's even another layer that you have to worry about. Are they going to treat me differently? Are they going to give me the treatments that I need? And again, consciously or not, I think the healthcare industry, hospitals, all of it, there is systemic racism in there. So I experienced that, and me calling all the time, checking up and wanting him to realize he has to have a whole team of people right here watching them, make sure that he has everything that he needs. But even watching my mom, who, for her, I mean, she gave birth to so many kids, but even at her last one, mashallah. She could, if she could have more, she would. Yeah. But she, always knew that, like, without even understanding that that's not how it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And I just would remember how people would treat her because of her accent and kind of like, I don't know, dismiss it. And I'm like, oh, my mom just said that she feels a little pain right here. You did hear her, right? Like, I would have to be there and my mom would be like, "Khalas, panash mashak." Like, she'd be like, enough. Yeah, my mom, I used to get so mad at her for not wanting to fight for better. But I just realized it's the trauma of being Palestinian in the West Bank.
How did you deal with the stress of being the oldest? Because at that point, you and I know you're the second mom, right? Kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I think it's part of who I am, and maybe Allah was trying to prepare me for Congress. I don't know, and being able to take care of 800,000 people. I feel this like pressure and responsibility on me all the time to take care of my residents, and like constantly fearful, am I doing everything I'm supposed to do? I know it might not be completely healthy that I take on so much, but I just feel like it's been conditioned. I mean, since I was 7 years old, my mom shouldn't have, but she left me with the kids, take care of my brothers and sisters. And early on, I just had to do a survivor mode of like, that's what we had to do, so that my mom could go to the doctor's appointments, go pick up the food from Focus Hope, or go grocery shopping without having to take all of us with her, or, enduring the code and all these things. But I don't know, everybody asks how, and sometimes it's such a blur. I just did it. Just like every day, I just get up and I do what I need to do for my kids, be a mom, be my mother's daughter, all the things that come up, of mama this, my yumma calling me, or other things coming through the pipeline. It's just, I just do it. Yeah. I don't know how to explain it. I don't have time to like sit there and think, God, this is so hard. I just do it, and then hopefully at the end of the day, I'm like, alhamdulillah, I at least got 3 of the 10 things I needed to do today done.
When she looks at you, your mother specifically, when she looks at you, is she proud? She like, because doctor, lawyer, I'm going to be a lawyer.
First of all, she didn't understand it. I'm gonna be honest with you all. Like, first time I ever ran, she goes, "Shuha yani." I said, "State representative yamma shuha mathala walaya." I told her, because I didn't know, like, mathala walaya was the closest thing I could come up with, which could be like a mayor or council, whatever. And so she just asked me right away after I told her. I just had Adam. Adam was 3 years old, my eldest, who's 20 now. She goes, "Is it معناتها بتجيب أولاد?" She goes, "Does this mean you're not going to have any more kids?" And I'm like, "That's what you're worried about?" She goes, I go, "Don't worry, I'm going to have, more kids." And then afterwards, it was protective mode. Like, "Mama, ليش بيحكوا هيك? Why are they saying these things about you? Like, what are they?" And even today, she, it's so funny. Do you remember the Ford Motor Company guy who just recently, he called Trump a pedophile protector and screamed on the... So my mom now pays attention, right? Because she's on Facebook now. And she goes, "Mama, did you see Sahila $850,000. And I said, yeah, Mama, because, he lost his job. At first, they weren't going to pay him. So a lot of people wanted to support him because, he called out the president. She goes, you call him out all the time and you don't make any money. It's so funny. So for me, my mom is like accepting of it. But at the beginning, constantly, khalas yamma. Don't, she's like, don't do mashaka, be quiet. Like, she thought maybe he walked the hallways. She goes, Khalila Allah, leave it to God. God will take care of it. Don't, cause any problems. When I got arrested for Fight for 15, access to healthcare for women, anything, I try to like keep it away from her because her seeing an imagery of me getting arrested just it terrifies her.
Yeah.
But it's changed our relationship. She doesn't say dash mashakil as much. She still says it, but not as much as before. But I have to warn her sometimes. When Netanyahu came, I said, Yamai, he's coming. Anu coming. Who are you talking about? And I told her, first of all, she was in complete shock. I told her, they invite him. She goes, why? Same question you asked me. Like she's like, why?
Yeah.
And I was like, because Mama, they all support that kind of ethnic cleansing, like kill Palestinian. I call them kill them all caucus.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you're part of the kill them all. What'd you call me? I said, well, you're part of the kill them all caucus. What else? Everything you're standing for results in killing them all. Where are they going? Like, what do you that's what you want. But yeah, it was the first time my mom, she would have, I thought, okay, here she goes. She's going to yell at me because I knew she was going to see that one. And she goes, well, what are you going to wear? And I was like, okay, all right. It was a different tune, So she was like, let me get you something to wear.
Fight mode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And of course, afterwards, she goes, oh, I would have done this. I would have done, sure, Mom. Yeah, I don't think so. But I think for me, and for people to know, the first time I ever got elected, you guys, my mom, she teared up. She was so proud. She was sitting in the gallery wearing her beautiful thobe. She was incredibly proud. And I think for her family in Palestine, the media attention on my city and my family. And she goes, Mama, this person came to the house, this and that. And seeing the interviews with my city early on, it just brought her so much joy. Of course, my city, I don't know if you maybe saw one of the interviews right after I got elected. My city muftiya, they showed her hands, which actually is one of my favorite things about her was her hands, always, because it was a farmer's hand, fallaha,
That's right.
Yeah, and I remember they were asking her, oh, what about your granddaughters now? What do you think? And she goes, Khalas, halat Palestine. Like, Palestine is free now. I'm like, no, halat Palestine. What do you think? That's not how it works. But then, just these beautiful moments that they understood. But my cousin Shireen, she told me, she's like, she got really quiet over the phone. And she's like, you don't understand. We really thought everybody in America wanted us to die. Like, they're not even asking about us. They don't care. You getting elected has changed that perspective of oh, not all Americans, support this. Like, no. I told Shireen, honestly, outside of Congress, Shireen, Milan, there's so many all in the streets. It's before the genocide that support Palestinians having, freedom to live, liberation. And I said, some of them call it apartheid. Like, they're very, very supportive of the Palestinian people, and they believe they have a right to, live and exist like anybody else.
I got to ask you, do you know how much you mean to the community? Because look, you're my role model. To so many of us.
I don't think any elected person should be anybody's role model. And I'm saying this as an elected person.
But you're
because I work with a lot of them.
Yeah, but you got a different vibe to you. Let's be clear here. Yeah. You don't take any BS.
I'm the granddaughter of some incredible people.
But do you realize, I'm going to push you on that a little bit.
I feel like every time somebody tries to explain it to me, I don't know. I have friends that say that, we known you a long time, but we don't realize until we're like, oh, Rashida. Yeah, I went to high school with her. And they're like, you were Rashida? And they're like, yeah, it's Rashida though. That's how I feel though. I'm it's funny because Southwest Detroit residents, when I came out and Beit Hanina president, they're like, but Rashida's always been like that. There wasn't a surprise. Even I remember Jesse Gonzalez saying, that's our girl, but that's Rashida. Why are they getting mad? Because you've always been don't they know that's how you've always, that's why we elected you.
Yeah.
You've always been like that, And so I don't care if it's Netanyahu, Trump, apartheid, genocide, this stupid AI, industry coming in and just about to tear our neighbors apart with these data centers. It don't matter. I mean, I take it on, but like for them, they don't see me as like this big deal. When I walk around, it's not like, oh my God, there's Rashida. It's like, hey, Rashida, hey, you tell Trump that. I was like, yeah, like I got his phone number, they laugh or whatever. But I know they sometimes see it and they're just like, whoa. I feel the same way. I'm like, whoa, like, okay.
You're a dangerous mix. Southwest Detroit, Palestinian. I mean, I
tell
don't know.
everybody that all the time.
Yeah.
I grew up in Detroit, where it's not just grit and stuff like they say. I mean, we really birthed movements. Like we say things like abolish ICE before anybody was saying abolish ICE. We've been saying, oh, we're not going to stand by and allow, corporations to come in and do this or that. Like we've been saying this stuff before it got even popular. And then you add me being Palestinian, you add me being the eldest of 14, you add Southwest Detroit flavor to it. Yeah, it's a dangerous mix.
Are you able to tell which personality is going to come out?
I think it's a combination of all.
Yeah.
It's a combination. I can see when, I watch them, I'm like, oh yeah, that's me at 19 years old when I was protesting the polluters.
So speaking of 19 years old, if you could go back and revisit yourself, what message would you give to that person?
I don't know. Somebody asked me that. I really don't know what I would say. I mean, there's a saying in the Quran, which is my favorite, with hardship comes ease, with hardship comes ease, with hardship comes ease. And it's something that I've followed even at the beginning. Like, it's one of those things I do believe that. Like, sometimes I know it's going to be hard, but inshallah, like the ease will come. And I'm hoping. I know it's been 2.5 years of really hell for myself and so many Palestinians, but I can't imagine, like, I was in a room and people were complaining that it was cold. And I'm one of those. I'm like, it's colder in Gaza, like they're cold in Gaza. You want to talk about cold, and because sometimes I'm like, I don't want the reality or disconnect, of people not understanding. We need to be grateful and things. So sometimes, that young person, I wish I practiced gratitude and appreciation in my early years a lot better than I do now. I do now very much, but like I wish I did it more, practicing gratitude more. Alhamdulillah, like I get to touch my city.
Yeah. When you first got elected and you were sworn in, I'm trying to pivot you a little bit, help you out.
For my city,
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about your city much more, of course. I'm going to do it anyway. When I see your city, I see my city.
I feel like they all seem the same.
Yeah.
I see videos and I'm like, oh my God, that's like City. City does that. Yeah.
Do you regret not going there? I know that they're restricting your movement. And
after talking to her, I couldn't go. She's on fast food right outside of the cage flying. It would have killed her to see me caged in because they didn't want me out there talking about BDS, which is a right. We have a right to boycott, talk about democracy, but hey, we don't want you to boycott or divest or work on divestment. But I just feel like, I had my closure with her and I knew that it might never have an opportunity. What's crazy is Congresswoman Cori Bush and I were supposed to travel on October 9th with, Institute for Middle Eastern Policy, understanding. And, we were all ready. My mom, I even changed her flight so she could be there. She went to go Jid Zatoun, pick olives with my city. At least she had that opportunity. And she had left on the 5th. And it was crazy because I was like, okay, I finally get to go see my city. I'm going to go pick olives with her. And I just said to the team, I was like, I'm going to go pick olives with my city. And it could be my last time doing it. First time I ever did it with my city, I fainted. It was hard work. Yeah. It's hard work.
They think Congress is hard work.
Well, they were like, Americanía. I'm like, hey. I was 21 and I was just, I think my face was up and I don't know, but I got really dizzy and I didn't faint, but I had the milk carton and I was like, I got this, but it was very hard work.
When was the last time you actually got to see her in person?
Probably like 50, I want to say maybe 2000, early 2000s. I have to look, but yeah, it was the last time.
Yeah. It's hard to explain to non-Palestinians the fuel that our cities give us.
Yeah.
Have you been able to figure that out, how to explain it? I can't. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, they evoke something in us.
It's scary, right?
Yeah. But they're like kind in doing all, they would try to trick my city to say something. And they're like, well, would you invite, Trump said this about your granddaughter. And she's like, he can come here, but he can't come as the president. He has to come as a man.
Oh,
I was like, okay, City.
Wow.
She said that. And, again, this is a woman that never went to school. She lived a life of all kinds of challenges. And she talks like that. And there's something about the littlest things that my City Shama or City Muftiya would say to me that I'm like, you might kind of like, okay. But I don't know. There's this incredible angels. Like, I don't know how to explain it. They do invoke something in us.
I forgot to ask you earlier, when did you know you were a Palestinian?
Oh, I've all my life.
Yeah, I know. But like, when did you like, we're fighters here, our backs up against the wall kind of thing?
Maybe when I was 7.
7, yeah.
Yeah. Because I was in Palestine and I saw things, and CD would sit under the olive trees and tell us all these, stories. But he was funny about it. It's interesting how funny he was. I think he still thought, when I went back, I can't remember, it wasn't the president, but he thought the president was still Reagan. Or I can't remember what it was. It was funny though. But no, I think at that moment I knew. I mean, when you're little and you watch tanks, really big military, I've never seen tanks like that here, anywhere. And like big tanks just go by.
With the little blue light. I don't know if that you saw that.
The blue light was on there because this was probably 1983, 84 maybe.
Yeah.
And where my grandparents lived was Beit Foka. And Beit Foka had the main road strip before they did the segregated highways where they segregated Israelis and Palestinians and roadways and things like that. But everybody passed by, including the tanks. It was such a busy street. Actually, I remember that summer, my brother got hit by a car crossing the street because we wanted to see the bird was nesting and we wanted to look at the birds. I remember and looking at the eggs and he's like, because the land was separated by this road. But I remember that year and understanding it, because by that time I had gone through a checkpoint with my family and understood, okay, because I knew I was Palestinian, but I was like, oh, okay.
You're Palestinian.
Yeah. Well, then when you start learning about the civil rights movement in 1990 in high school, it was the first time Detroit Public Schools decided we're going to teach history through the African-American lens. And I remember we got these bright orange textbooks, brand new. It was the first time I ever got a brand new book. And man, everything I was like, oh yeah, different colors. Okay. Different lines. I was like, okay. I don't know. It really fueled me though. I'm like, okay, Jim Crow. I learned so much about even suppression of First Amendment right, people suppressing boycott. It was clear, at that time, there wasn't like BDF, but we knew economic boycott was something that I remember my dad, all of us talking about, like, we're not going to go to that business because they don't support Palestinians,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're using the same playbook, but they're just being much more overt about it.
I think it's direct, actually, maybe because I'm in Congress and I see it, and then you got people yelling out they're all guilty, or well, it's not our fault that their parents voted for X, Y, and Z. Like, it's terrible. I don't think it's that ever. I think they're pretty racist and clear about Palestinians not having a right, First Amendment right to speak up. Now they're going after Americans who do not share my ethnicity or faith. Attorney generals prosecuting people that may have protested or, fought to get their university to divest, or seeing, people losing their job. A doctor in my district literally being isolated from the rest because she expressed concern about rhetoric and language at a hospital.
Yeah.
And so all that to say is, I think it's been pretty direct. Like, yeah, we're progressive, but for Palestine. Oh, you have First Amendment right, but not for Palestine. Oh, yeah, human rights, super important, but not for Palestinians. It's just always an exception for Palestine.
Oh, we interviewed Cori Bush a while ago, and I forgot to ask her this question. I want to ask you, when you're looking at these individuals who clearly want Palestinians just to go away and be dead, what are you seeing in their eyes?
It's cold.
Just
cold. I miss Cori so much because we would sit there and somebody would say something, we just look at each other. And I'm like, right? That was crazy, right? We're like, oh, that's genocidal.
Yeah.
That's, so they're like, want to kill them? Is that what I'm hearing? Like, oh, it's okay. They bombed a hospital. Like, that's not a war crime.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard because I hear them talk about Ukraine so passionately, and it just, kills me inside. Like, okay. So if we were Ukrainians, they would care. Like, if we were, in Sudan, maybe they care, but they don't care about Sudanese people either. They don't care about what was happening to Yemenis. They don't, so it's very telling how much these racist tropes and systematic racism and everything is also in policy. And I'm really ashamed that so many of my people of color that serve with me don't hesitate either. And look, I know and I acknowledge it, but I will not accept it, that it's a lot of pressure from the pro-genocide, the pro-ethnic cleansing, self-interest groups that probably should be registered as a foreign lobby, AIPAC and more. It's not just AIPAC anymore. There's all kinds of entities coming up here and there that want, unconditional support genocide, support current government apartheid. We don't care how many journalists are being murdered. We don't care how many children are freezing to death. We don't care that humanitarian trucks are coming. We don't care that UNRWA was cleared of any wrongdoing, and we don't care. And there's a lot of colleagues who, now are saying, oh, we're not going to do this. And yes, I agree. But they still won't say genocide.
So how do we, specifically, let's just focus on the Palestinians and the diaspora. Obviously, we don't want to vote Republican, and we don't want to vote Democrat unless it's you or Cori Bush, maybe, right?
Yeah.
What's your message to those individuals?
I mean, more and more of us are becoming a lot more independent, right?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about just those that support the Palestinian movement. I think especially Arab men. I actually said this to someone. It's interesting, if it's a white man that's independent, Democrats spend a lot of money and effort to try to get that vote. But when it's an Arab, a Black, Latino, independent voter, it's like, oh, well, of course they're going to vote for us. That's not true anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think it's very clear it's not about, party structure and voting party structure. It's about who will have the courage to stand up, not only in this issue, because I'll tell you, those that won't stand up for Palestinians and supporting consistently, like, that's a war crime. We shouldn't be spending that kind of money there when we got all these problems here. People don't want us supporting genocide. That these are the same people that will defend you later if you're being oppressed, if you're being targeted, if you're being shot in the face by ICE. That is something to understand. And they can't just be progressive, be for working families, except if it's this issue or this issue or that issue. And we're going to see this week when people vote on the Homeland Security bill.
Do you feel dissonance yourself? Obviously, the answer is yeah, I'm sure. But I mean,
well, I already feel like many of them have alienated or isolated me away in ways. And they want to make me the Palestinian Congresswoman. I'm going to have to see them. And that's intentional. Why? Because they want my residents to think that's the only issue that I care about. But I believe access to water is from Detroit to Gaza. I have been very clear that cutting people off of water is a form of violence, and it's a global issue. But here at home, I fight for those issues. And they see I get up in caucus, oh, here we go. And they're like, oh, she's going to talk about water. And it's true enough. But out there, they want people to think that I'm this person that only cares about that. No, I just so happen to be a Palestinian American member of Congress during the genocide of her people. And, just like Detroit's my people and the 12th congressional districts are my people, I feel a sense of responsibility because of my lived experiences, because I'm Palestinian, to speak for so many people that don't feel like they have a voice.
But people forget, forgive me if I don't know the entire story correctly, but you actually went and collected samples of trucks who were I mean, who does that? Right?
I know. Yeah, because I'm a falaha. So. But I can tell you what happened there is Democrats and Republicans, they were kind of looking the other way. And Marathon Oil Refinery, which gives money to both Democrats and Republicans at the state level and the local level. They donate to everyone. They were expanded to bring in crude oil from Canada. And it's funny because I used to be called the pet Coke girl. Oh, you're the Coke girl. I was like, not that Coke. But I remember talking to a resident, Catherine, and I said, Catherine, the state just called me and said that it's not cancerous, that it's not. She goes, what? I said, yeah. They said it's okay, whatever. They dumped the crude oil that went to Marathon Oil Refinery. It's the only petroleum refinery, butts right up against my district, and at that time was in my district. The byproduct is petroleum coke, and it's really dusty and really refined, but it was all over the place. And it was just a cloud. And somebody in Canada started complaining about it. And then I'm like, what are they talking about? And sure enough, you're talking about 40 feet high stacks. And so Catherine's like, that doesn't make any sense. How can they say that? It has to have carcinogenic in it, all this cancerous products. And so I said, yeah, I don't know what to do. Like, I can't believe they're saying that. It wasn't even on the toxic list for the EPA. It was, but then the fossil fuel industry removed it. Right. So that was on the federal level, and I was on the state house at that time. So Catherine's like, I wish we can get samples. I said, oh, I can get you samples. And she's like, what? I said, I can get you samples. And she goes, okay. And she had no idea that I jumped over railroad tracks. You had to see where this was.
Definitely.
So it's if you went to the street, it's a dead end street, and it was around one of the apartment building where they had like lofts and stuff. And there was like this action where they were blocking the trucks, some of the residents. So I kind of went around the building and then crossed these rail tracks. And then jumped over a fence and I had kitchen gloves and Ziploc bags because I didn't know anything about the product. So I was just like stuffing. I got 3 bags of it. It was crazy because I was like, okay, now Catherine, I have it. And she goes, you do? And she goes, well, because the testing lab was in Ann Arbor, and that's like 45-minute drive. And then we looked it up. We were like, okay, let's mail it. Did you know the U.S. Postal Service prohibits mailing petroleum coke because it can combust? And I was like, wow. So it's okay to dump 40 feet high piles of it in the back of where people live. We tested it like I was an environmental agency, and we released Ecology Center helped us do it. And yeah, we released it, and I even got them to test some of the apartment buildings where they found them on the window seal and everything. And then they changed their mind and came back, and the state's like, well, it's not toxic if it's contained. And so that led to us pushing the mayor and council and everybody to support us in getting them to remove the piles.
You recognize that's not normal, right?
No, but it protected my community. And I don't like it when my residents don't feel believed. Like, you could tell they're like, they don't believe us. And like, they're seeing this. Yeah. It's kind of everything right now. People have been complaining about ICE in my district for years. And now they're like, oh, see, they're seeing now finally what we've been telling them, which is they don't care about civil rights. They don't care about protecting people. And so you might not think it's normal, but I think any resident or anybody, even if I wasn't elected, and Catherine knows, she goes, you're serious? I said, yeah, I got 3 Ziploc bags. And they tested it, and that led to more testing. They even tested a bus stop and found it all over the bus stop. And it was carcinogenic, all these cancerous, toxins that were very harmful for my residents. And they're sitting there out in the open on property. One, it didn't meet ordinances and everything, so you had land use issues. I finally was able to file some injunctions against them because they try to dump it again. Yeah.
When I say it's not normal, I mean for a congressperson to actually. At
that time, I was a state
I know you were, but like, give me another somebody who's serving right now that was willing to do that.
Yeah. One thing that hurts the most for residents, and I know it hurts me, is when you don't feel believed.
Yeah.
When I see the videos of the families that kept showing the brown water and President Obama drinking the water, it was so like, I know, does everybody remember? I mean, it was just so like, and I know when I used to say, this is not normal to have your body smell like hydrogen sulfide. It's not normal. And the residents are like, hey, please help protect us. And it's like, oh, no, everything's fine. Drink the water. Air is fine. And so I showed them that you can take the power back, and you can show them that if you're not going to do it, we're going to protect ourselves. I mean, I feel very much the government will never, and I'm there now, but the government will never, ever protect us like we will protect ourselves. And showing my residents that over and over again is I feel empowering to show them, like, you have the power to show them over and over again, you're lying. This is what's happening, and we're not going to stand by and let it continue.
What's your message to the students?
First of all, they're heroes. I know they already know this. I went to a couple encampments and they're like, yeah, sit down, you're not talking. I was like, okay. I was like, I'm not here to talk. I brought you menaish, I brought you like cheese bread and za'atar bread. But even watching them, what I love about the students, and I said this, I was like, you guys talked about the Armenian genocide in the same breath that you were talking about anti-Blackness in our country, combine it with what's happening in Gaza. It's incredible how they understand the connectivity of that pain and that oppression, and to keep it up. And they're in the right, and I know they already know that, but there's something powerful in that they've been able to do that a lot more effectively than my generation ever did. Black pastor told me once, our country's not divided, we're disconnected. And these young people have a way to connect. It's incredible to watch them, not only encampments, but in spaces, use their seat wherever they're at. If it could be a classroom, it could be the new job, it could be wherever, where they bring that into the fold courageously with no wavering. It's the kind of courage I haven't seen before. Putting their future in line. I mean, I'm fighting with University of Michigan right now. They continue to vilify, target, criminalize, even though they haven't been prosecuted and or anything. They've created some informal little thing to where they're criminalizing them. You're not allowed to come on campus. You'll never be able to register for a master's program or be able to work on campus. It's disgusting.
Guy Christensen won his case recently. ACLU defended him. He was kicked out of Ohio State for speaking up for Palestine. He's at a different university now, sued with ACLU, and I think the judge ruled in his favor. So,
I mean, we've been winning BDS cases. I mean, where people in employment and states have been doing that. We just got to keep doing it. Many of my Black neighbors, some of the enforcement of the civil rights, some of the enforcement of the Constitution, much of it came through even case law. We were able to desegregate because of case law. We're able to, push protections around voting rights through case law. And I know a lot of it's being overturned right now, but litigation is resistance. We can march, we can speak up, we can try to vote people in that, can speak on our behalf, but we also can litigate, again, making sure the application of law is equal.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking you, how do you deal with the pressures from inside the community as a powerful woman? You know where I'm going, right? As a powerful woman, as a Muslim.
No, tell me, no specifics.
Well, the stereotype, for example, is, you're supposed to be home and cooking,
that,
right?
Yeah. Oh, you talk about the amos and the khaltas and stuff?
Yeah. How do you navigate?
They haven't bothered me as much. I'll tell you, when the first time I talked about wearing the thobe, it kind of broke, because I had posted it. Right. And it was the first time in reality of like, oh my God, everything I'm posting is going viral, because I was like, whoa. I just said, oh, here's my thobe, my yamas thobe that I'm going to wear. Yeah. And people are like, it went crazy. And people are like, oh my God. I had amos, mostly men, call me and say, it's too much. Halas. Shway, shway.
You're doing that too well.
He's like, shway. He's like, one of them was like, shway, shway. I said, shway, shway. He goes, they should probably know I'm Palestinian, Zalama. What are you going to do about it? And another one's like, it's too much. It's too aggressive. I said, aggressive? It's a thobe, ya Zalama. Like, it's no big deal. And then, what I loved, I think, was Vogue, or somebody asked me to write up why. And nobody ever asked me, like, why. I think once in a while somebody would. And I said, because my mother's passport says she was born in Jordan. She wasn't born in Jordan. Yeah. She was born in Palestine. And I wanted to give that back to her. But I also I wanted to be a proud Palestinian coming to the floor. It's amazing because I saw, Deb Holland and others wear, things that symbolize their roots and who they are. But boy, some of the amos were like, I'll tell you, the most criticism I ever get from our community mostly is my cursing. Like, it really bothers people.
Yeah, there was one interview you did, I think maybe Hasan Piker, I counted like many F words, like maybe 15.
Well, when he started cursing, I was like, I can curse.
You can curse here too.
Yeah. But no, I had a guy from Florida call me and say, it's not good. Our children are listening to you and stuff. I said, please don't let them follow elected officials. I think it's not a good idea. Yeah. I let them, like I told them, people asked me my role model. I said my Sitis. I was like, let them worship other people, not me. I'm not the role model that you want. If you want, teach them the things I stood for, and I fight for the most vulnerable. I said in our deen it says take care. After you take care of your home, you have to take care of your community you live in. But I told them, the person that I am in expression and stuff, people have art, people have different things they do to express themselves. God, sometimes cursing really feels liberating. And so he's like, well, I can't support. I said, don't. And he goes, well, if you stop cursing, I said, well, I can't guarantee I will stop cursing. I'm actually pretty sure I'm not going to. I said, I grew up with 7 brothers. I grew up in Detroit. And she's like my second mother. She calls me daughter. Pastor Overman makes me pay her money when I do.
Really? Oh, wow. Are you in debt?
No, I think so. But she's not like upset about it, but she's like, chill down. But there are some people in my community in Dearborn and other places that are like, they don't like it. If they want to police my words and not see what I stand for, that's on them. I hope they don't get distracted by it.
Yeah, well, I told the twins they may hear some bad words if they stuck around.
I think the worst I said is hell.
Yeah, all good. All good. So just going back to the stigma really quick. Stigma in our community, specifically man or woman, just of divorce.
Oh,
how did you navigate that, or did you not face it?
I was divorced already. People in the community know my ex-husband, my kid's dad, I like to call him, and I are very close. Okay. He's one of my best friends. We co-parent so lovely together. We could probably write a book about it. And I love his wife, who stands up for me when I need something. She's like, Faze, go do it. I'm like, thanks, Amel. But I think, I think it's different. But yeah, I think people might see that as a challenge or an issue. Nobody's ever asked me directly, which is interesting. I mean, some people have asked if I'm married and are curious, but those are like my yumma, or just nosy. But I haven't got it directly. I could imagine maybe people talking behind my back, but I don't think, maybe I'm too intimidating to ask about my personal life like that.
Yeah, I would not mess with you. Yeah.
It's none of their business.
So are we going to see you run for president?
No.
No way?
I can't imagine. I'm shocked that I'm in Congress. I don't think people realize, I ran. I was angry. I started Moms Against Trump. I was so angry about the continued expansion of Marathon. Don't get me started about the bridge company. There was all these things that were going on. And at that time when John Conyers, who was, really, I never had a question on any votes that he ever made. And Congressman Conyers was like the dean. He was, incredible on civil rights and was a leader on judiciary. And so when he stepped down and I saw who was going to run, I just felt compelled, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try. And we polled 5th place, I think, the first couple months. And then, I knew it was an uphill battle. And I think people don't realize now. They're like, oh, yeah, of course. But at that time, no. I won by 899 votes. And I didn't win both elections. We had a special election and a regular at the same ballot, which was confusing to people. They had to vote for me twice. She won. My opponent won the special, which was to finish up his term of 6 weeks. I think it was 6 weeks. And then I won the full 2-year term. And, as soon as I won, it was a shockwave. One of my campaign managers of Jewish faith, he got calls like, what did you do? And he's like, what do you mean? It's Rashida. That's what I'm saying. They're like, it's Rashida. Yeah. He's a mentor and amazing brother. And then all the others, I mean, we were all looking at each other like, oh my God, we won. And it was a shock. But I remember the moment and my mom wrapping the Palestinian flag around me that night, and people lost their minds. And I said in high school, if you went to diverse school, it was very common for the Puerto Rican family to wrap the Puerto Rican flag around, or the Mexican flag. I've even seen a Cuban flag. It was a diverse high school, and it was just something you do. You still see that with so many beautiful immigrant families. And boy, people are like, oh my God, I can't believe that. Yeah.
So no chance for president, huh?
I can't even see it.
If you really want to get back at these people.
I love what I do with the neighborhood service centers. I love the work I'm doing on water. I don't know if I could do that to my family. Yeah.
Fair enough. Maybe, inshallah. We'll see. We'll think about it.
I know.
The Palestinian, inshallah. How about that?
Yeah. Palestinian, inshallah. What's the difference?
No, won't happen. It's like, when your grandmother says inshallah,
like that. Yeah. I have a friend who's a teacher, And he told me, like, one of the kids were like, inshallah. And I was like, no, it's due Monday. They were like, inshallah. And he's like, no, Monday.
So just a few more things. I'm going to give you some words and you just respond, and I give you permission to curse as much as you want here.
Oh, no, it's okay.
ICE.
What do you mean abolish?
First response. Abolish. AIPAC.
Abolish.
Trump.
Impeach.
Vice President Harris.
What, like a one word? I don't know. It was just hurtful.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
You know, I want to tell you, I noticed throughout this interview, anytime we brought up Palestine, you lit up.
Oh.
Anytime we brought up your grandparents, you lit up. And every time you brought up your community who you're serving right now, you light up.
They keep me going.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're never hurtful. They never make me feel unseen. I love it. I mean, even when they're upset with me, they're still loving about it. They're like, oh my God, did you have to do that? You know?
Yeah.
But I think they know where my heart is. So I'm so blessed to have an amazing district.
How do we support you?
I mean, honestly, keep speaking truth. You know, one of the things I want folks to know, community mothers in Detroit taught me this, Grace Lee Boggs and others, they constantly remind us that the outside movement is what moves Congress. Like, these are not people that the president or Congress wake up one day and say, wow, this is a genocide and we got to stop funding it. Or, you know what? ICE is out of control and they need to be abolished. It's when people on the outside move them. That's how we got the Civil Rights Act. That's how we got the right to organize unions, people withholding their labor. It was always the outside moving institutions like Congress and the Oval Office. It was never them coming up with the idea. It was always us making them do it. And so for me, help support that. Realize the power you have. I'm not saying this as cliche. I'm telling you as somebody that watched George Floyd Justice and Policing come through the House floor in front of me and getting, 2 Republicans, I think at the time. I was in shock that it even came up for a vote, but it's because people for months would not stop saying George Floyd's name. People were done. And I feel like that can continue to happen and pushing back. My colleagues are not saying, oh, I'm not taking AIPAC money or supporting our resolution on genocide because they thought it was because people in their community is asking them those questions. I love that people get up at a town hall and say, hey, I want to talk to you about the SNAP cuts and how come you're for starvation of Gaza families. And so for me, that is what gives me credibility of what I'm saying is, you know, people say, oh, I don't know about this. I say, well, poll your district. What? I said, go poll your district like you always do. Ask them, because majority of them are going to come back and say, yeah, we should probably stop funding genocide. We need an arms embargo. And yeah, by the way, ICE sucks. Abolish them.
Yeah.
Vote your district. Don't vote with the special interest groups that just want genocide and benefit from war and death and destruction.
Can I ask you for one last favor?
Yeah.
You met my daughters, obviously. Yes. For their generation, could you deliver a message for them so, 5, 10, 20 years, they look back at this? Whatever you want to say.
Okay.
And you can curse too, by the way.
No, I'm not going to. Hi, it's Khalta Rashida. I just want you all to know me at 7 years old knew the power that I have, and that just because I was a girl did not mean that I couldn't change the world. And I know it's corny, but it's a beautiful corny thing. You want to change the world, you can do it. And sometimes it's just your voice. Sometimes it's using your legs to march. Sometimes it's expressing your opinion and speaking on those that don't have a voice. Just know that you stay rooted, dream big, and always stay corny. Love the fact that you want to change the world and never let anybody take that from you.
I love it. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Listen, stay tuned, cause it's time for Sumud.